Are you watching any wrestling right now? And if so, what?
I watch clips.
Right.
When I hear something, dude, I don't have an appetite for it right now. I got a lot going on.
There's
Like,
nothing wrong with that. That is literally how a lot of
The
wrestling
best way to do it.
is like
There's too much out there, bro. There's just way too much out there.
dude.
if I had a podcast, if I had a show like you guys, I would obviously be watching a lot more. And even when I had my way through a lot of those reviews I did, you know?
Right.
Um,
That's right.
and I thought about it. And that was like one of the many reasons I no longer have a podcast. But yeah, I don't like, I make it a point. I don't know, like obviously you guys do, right?
Yeah, we do.
Well,
Yeah.
We watch.
I've got to the point though to maybe like you
Uh-huh.
is that I'm so I don't care to see the work anymore. I fast forward through the matches because like they're all the same these days. Everybody's thigh slapping, they're standing there and forearming each other back and forth in the head, and it's like I'm not really missing anything if I'm missing the match, especially when I know who's going to win. It's like I want to see the promos and the interviews and the backstage of the angles, right? But honestly, I've gone full circle in my life that because I had that Joe Pedicino, I would have that VCR tape of the 7 hours.
Yeah.
I watched. Oh, I'd fast forward. I went back to watching it like I used to when I was just a fan before I became a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
I fast forward through the work. I watch all the interviews. I watch all the character stuff. And then the match starts. I'm like, maybe I'll watch some if it's a big one that's been built up. And then the next thing you know, they start slapping their thighs. And doing it. I fast forward through it, and stuff. So yeah, I just watch it like back when I was like 15 years old right now. You know,
the problem that I have, Sean, is that now there's this back then in the day, right? Before we started working and when we were working, bro, you couldn't be doing other people. And now everybody does everybody, and there's no problem. What happens is people see something gets over and they hear the pop. And so now everybody's wrestling for that same pop.
Yeah.
So remember when the Canadian Destroyer first came out and you'd see that 50 times, show? You're like, dude, do you not notice that every match before you has done this 3 times? Just like the thigh slapping, you'd see one guy do it back in the day. You didn't even really notice it. Now it's 5 times per match, 6 matches. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them don't even know how to hide it. Yeah. Bro, people talk on TV to the other opponent. They don't even hide their face with their hair or like this. A lot of people just talk out there like, nobody.
I remember that the hiding.
Yeah.
Hiding, talking, that was a skill as important as the other.
100%.
Sure. Let me ask you this. How many times you wrestled Flair?
A lot. Why? Why do you ask me that? Why do you bring up Ric Flair, Glenn?
Because the first time I wrestled him, it was the first time I've ever felt I got dragged through a match. Like he was with the talking, just like everything was just like so perfect. Like the way he just like, like he didn't talk beforehand, and he would call it in the ring, and like everything he did, and he's just guiding you through there. That was like we're talking about like how talking changed. Like Ric Flair experience was different than wrestling other guys because he just dragged you through his match. It's like I wonder if you felt the same way when you wrestled him.
I didn't, and I'm going to tell you why. Because like a lot of them were TV matches, and the one match I had a singles match with Rick at the Spectrum in Philly.
I saw it.
You were there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did the match look familiar to you at all, Joe?
A little bit, and I remember.
Did it a little bit like Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair from 1988? Because I told him I'll listen to you, and that's what he did. And he was the baby face, so I had to go, whoa, wait a minute, I'm like drop, like it was so crazy. He had me doing Ricky Steamboat.
Right. Yeah.
Like he hated being like. I wish he would have been him and Curt Hennig both would have been so huge as baby faces if they would have embraced being a baby face. And both of them hated it. Both of them.
Isn't that weird? Because Flair was so good as a heel, he started getting that fan base where we just have to applaud you because you're so good at being a heel. So you should be a baby face,
Yeah.
but you'd be a baby face for like a
Hennig,
month.
bro,
And
Hennig
then you're like, I can't do this. I like being a heel.
super underrated,
right,
bro.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Super underrated. He was incredible in all facets.
Yeah.
You know, talking.
Did Henny never
taking
get you with?
bumps.
Did you and Henny ever rib each other? And then
Oh,
Henny
yeah.
okay. Hey, give me the best rib that Henny pulled on you, and the best rib that you've got Henny with.
Obviously, he shaved my eyebrows and made me think it was a smoking guns for 25 years.
That's
Like
great.
everyone knows the story, like right?
I
Like,
don't. I don't.
I don't know
the
this, but
stories.
no,
Can
let's
you
hear it.
tell me?
bro, everyone knows it. Like
I
I'm
don't.
definitely.
We don't.
Come on, you guys.
I've never heard it. I'm serious.
Dude, come on.
Okay. Well, whatever.
I,
you wanna
no,
think,
I'll
I've never
try.
heard
I'll
it.
tell the Cliff's Notes version.
All right.
I'm not going to give him the whole story how I usually
yeah,
do it with all the bells and whistles.
Right. Well, I've never heard it.
We were out. It was my first road trip in. I might have been my birthday week too.
You were a rookie. That's even worse.
Yes, my first trip in.
Yeah.
And I'm.
To the business, young guy.
Oh yeah. And you know Jack.
Yeah.
And Jaeger bombs.
Yeah. Jager bombs.
And like I'm like acting like a big shot, right? Like Kurt's telling the story. Like I remember him telling the story to others. And like, like I'm smoking a cigar and like, round the Yankees for everyone, like a big shot. And I put the cigar in backwards and burn my lips. And
Right.
on the way back to Billy Gunn's mom's house, I got puke all over the car, puked all over a girl. Yeah. And then I woke up the next morning and I was hungover and I went to the bathroom and I saw my eyebrows gone in the mirror, Yeah.
What's your first reaction when you think, okay, my eyebrows are, what do I need to do? Was it like I need a black magic marker? Like, or you just say, well, what am I?
I hadn't even got to that point yet.
Right.
Yeah. I hadn't even did I go?
So now you go out and you cut a promo on the smoking guns when you see him. Now did
Oh,
Curt?
no. No.
Did Curt, let me just do this question because Curt did something similar with Iron Sheik with the towel. I'm going to tell you in a minute in WWE. But did Curt stir the man? That's what they did to you.
He didn't go that far. It was more subtle than that, and because that might have been a little bit,
Right.
I mean, I'm fast forwarding to Billy Gunn telling me like when I did have a show, Billy comes on and he finally tells me it was Curt. But anyways, back to the 1993 July. So I see my eyebrows in the mirror. I'm like, and then I go take a down and I got a stripe right down the middle of my pubes too. Yeah, dude, I had to go home. The wife sees it, and all that. So, yeah.
Now, did you ever get Curt back thinking it was him?
No.
Smoking guns thinking it was them.
No. Okay, so I'm getting to that, and I can't remember if it was the next road trip. I think it was. We're still on this road trip. Because I remember showing up to San Bernardino, like fairgrounds. We had a show there. I had my sunglasses on, and Curt Taker, and Kurt's like, show him. And, I remember taking my sunglasses off. Taker, he wasn't the kind of guy that busted a gut laughing. Like,
right.
But, he
smirked.
No, he started laughing, but, it's hard to get one out of him.
Right.
So, man, I just felt like I didn't realize I was I tried to, in my mind, I was like more up there on their level. I didn't realize that I'm this little kid that got thrown in the locker room and now they got to babysit, kind of.
Right.
Well, that's really what it was, man. I just didn't understand that back then because I was already a father myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I'm trying to I'm like, man, I can't let this go. And, I don't know how. It had to have been Billy and Bart. It had to have been, because it couldn't have been Curt because that's my boy.
Right.
And Curt Kurt was classic at doing the rib, then acting like, "Hey guys, we got to find out who did this." Like, or you're right, yeah, right. It's like, it's like so obvious, but like so subtle. Like, you can't really argue with the guy, right?
The whole males beat Joe Vince was stirred up by Kurt. But anyways, where was it? Okay, so I have on the way where we have a show in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and on the way there, I have Kurt stop at the hardware store, and I went and I got a 2-tube epoxy resin. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like welding something together. It's on, right? Like when you use that. And those guys, they always set their hats on the table, like what would be. It wasn't really Gorilla, but it was the where we go out at.
Right.
Where you put your gear on the table before you go out.
Yeah. So it was as simple as they left their hats there. I went over there. I got the epoxy resin. I all on the inside of their hats and the rim, everything. They put the hats on. They go out there, popping them guns up. Those blank guns. They get in the ring, and it's like,
oh man. Now wait a minute. Please tell me this happened. Did you have anybody watching this with you so they could enjoy it? Okay.
Oh yeah. A bunch of people were. Kevin was. Nash was.
Yeah.
Nash was, and he tells a story. They couldn't get the hat. One of them got the hat up, and there was like the lining of the hat looked like a yarmulke.
Right.
I might be exaggerating that a little bit. It's good for the story, though.
Right. Don't ever let the lie get in the way with you.
But I like to tell straight shooting stories without having to exaggerate, because my stories usually don't need to exaggerate.
Right.
So those guys do that, and everyone pops, and they all look at me, and I just went like this. Walked.
Holy, you must have been over with. Now, what happened when they get to the back?
Kevin huge. I remember
they asked me if I glued their hats there, and I said no. Did you shave my eyebrows? And they said no. All right.
Yeah.
I didn't. That wasn't the end of it. Later on that night, we drove to El Paso and stopped at the country bar. Bart was out cold. I already told this story, so I don't mind telling it again.
Right.
And if Bart was going to beat out of me, he would have done it already.
Right.
And Bart's cool, and I wouldn't deserve to got my ass beat for this. He's laying face down, and Scott pulls a pair of scissors out of his fanny pack, and he goes, "Do it." And I'm like, he's like, "Do it." And so I just cut his hair.
Oh.
Later on, we ended up at Whataburger drive-thru.
Right.
And Godfather was there.
Right.
And I don't know why, but I gave him the hair. And he forgot about the hair. Yeah, he was drunk too. And like the next show, he comes in the next day or whatever, he comes in the locker room. And Bart's there and everything. And he goes, "Man, I woke up and I had this hair in my pocket." And 20 years later, Bart talks about in the, what do you call it? Brawl. Like, and it's like, I wonder if he's going, "I'll get you up." Been waiting 20 years for this, or however long it was.
Right.
Did you think
5 years, however long.
Yo, what up? This is Conan, and I host Keeping It 100, my co-host, Disco Inferno, unfortunately.
Well, I'd say you're my co-host.
Listen, every Thursday here on Spreaker, we talk pro wrestling, sports, movies, music, TV, pop culture, and some politics. It's everything the rest of the pro wrestling podcasts are not.
Tune in to hear myself, the superior one, educate and inform.
Tune in to hear me bury Disco.
That's very disrespectful.
Join us every Thursday on Spreaker and keep it 100. Boom!